And now, the Rink Rap podcast from Forever Blueshirts, talking all things New York Rangers hockey. Here's your host, Jim Cerny.
Welcome back to Rink Rap here at Forever Blueshirts. I'm Jim Cerny, and that guy is certainly well known to Ranger fans. Adored, loved. They love this face. They love the guy. I'm building it up, but it's really cool to sit down here and have a few minutes to chat with Derek Stepan. Derek, thanks for taking some time out of your schedule today to hang out.
Yeah, no problem, man. What an intro. Beautiful face.
Beautiful.
I don't know about that.
Beautiful face. Come on. This is a guy right from the moment that you stepped into the NHL and scored a hattie in your first game, man. That could do, well, I wouldn't say no wrong, but could do minimal wrong in the eyes of the Ranger faithful. And, we'll kind of get to all that kind of stuff. But, I'm real curious about what you're doing now. Like, I want to start with the present and kind of we'll roll back a little bit. How'd you end up with the Wild? Why did you decide to, get into the player development side? And, maybe I know it's kind of a three-part question, but was this something that maybe in the later stages of your career you thought you might get into? Was you're kind of thinking, oh, what's my next step?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't. When you're playing, or at least when I was playing, I wasn't thinking anything after hockey. I was in the moment that I was in. And actually, when I first decided to retire, me and my wife were sitting down on a couch in North Carolina, and the year just ended, and I just remember like saying to her, like, yeah, I'm good with the playing thing. I'm all set there. So that was kind of what it was. And your first thought is like, oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna have so much downtime now. I get to just relax, like no pressure. And then you get like 3 weeks of that, and you're like, all right, I got to figure out what I want to do now. And so I always knew when I was playing, I joked with guys when I played throughout my career that I felt like I'd be better post hockey than I was at the current playing hockey. Just being able to boss orders around rather than actually have to go out and execute it. So so that was the first decision I made. Is like, all right, I think I'd like to try to get into hockey some way. How I landed in Minnesota, I got really lucky. Bill Guerin is my neighbor.
That doesn't stink.
He's a phenomenal guy, and he came walking by one day, and I just said to him, hey, if you ever have time to sit down and chat, I'd love to, see if there's anything that I can do. And grateful that he's such a good person and I was able to get an opportunity. And we went down and sat down and had breakfast, and I give Billy credit. He was like, don't do anything this year. He's like, come around a little bit and let's just see if you like it, and then we can discuss, after a year, like make sure you get away from the game for a second and then regroup and get ready to come back into it. So I did like I don't know, I guess I'd call it like an internship. I didn't do a whole lot, but I was around the home games, and I did a trip down to Iowa, and then maybe a player development trip and a pro scouting trip. And that was kind of it. And I just enjoyed being around the guys and the people, and there's so many great people in hockey. I was like, all right, I'm interested. And so that's kind of how it developed. I know that's kind of a long-winded answer, but that's how it kind of developed. And like I said, I am grateful to the Minnesota Wild and Bill Guerin for giving me an opportunity, and I truly enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's awesome because obviously you're a Minnesota guy. You live in Minnesota. You weren't, weren't looking to uproot. So it's like it's really a cool opportunity, even though you say, you do some travel, you go down to Iowa, you work with the farm team, the kids down there. But you still have your base. Your home is your home base. And that's got to be a pretty cool aspect as well.
Yeah, it's nice. And Minnesota is great for flying standpoint, to get to the east, to get to the west, it's about the same. And so when I go watch the kids in the CHL or in college hockey, overall the flights are pretty doable. And it's been a lot of fun to keep my foot in the door in the hockey world. And I truly love chatting with anybody about hockey. I could talk shop all day.
So speaking of talking, do you see Zuki at all? Do you see Matt Zuccarello there?
I know the Ranger fans are gonna hate this. I try to avoid him as much as possible.
Understood. Understood.
I see, like I said, I don't really do a whole lot with the big club.
Yeah.
I actually, more than anything, I'll take my two boys to the game or my family to the game, and just enjoy it as a fan rather than going there and work. But yeah, I see Zuki during the main camp and make sure that at least try to get in there and hear him say something funny because he's just nonstop.
Okay, so you just set it up, and I still have Minnesota question or two for you, but so you set it up. You say, oh, you know Zook's going to say something funny and all that. Give us give the fans who don't know Zook. Like I was fortunate enough to be around, but certainly have no, I don't have the stories that you would have. You must have a good treasure trove of Zook stories because the one-liners, the deadpan delivery from this guy with the accent. I mean, I know it's hard to recreate, but you must have a Zook story up your sleeve.
I got a bunch, and I'll give it no justice any of the lines, but I think one of the funniest moments, and the guy that I'm going to say this about, Jim, JR was our media relations guy when we were in New York, and JR, I'm sorry, I got to tell this story. We were getting off the plane in Edmonton, and it was very, very slippery, and me and Zook were the two guys behind him, and he hit the ice, and he picked up speed. He got tabletop parallel and slammed on the ground. Yeah. He got up and he was okay. And as soon as me and Zuki found out he was okay, me and Zuki had one of the best laughs in our whole career. And JR's computer was destroyed. But Zuki, and he's got one of the best laughs too. And he, for the rest of the year, he would always just say, how's that computer of yours? Oh, it was that was one of the and he has, and that, maybe not seem very funny to the fans, and he has some great one-liners. I don't want to give them all up. When one day you get him on this show, he can tell you some of his one-liners, but that one was one of my favorites, and we still laugh about it. We still will text each other about it. Remember that? Like anytime he landed in Edmonton or I landed in Edmonton when we played, I'd be like, careful, the runway's slippery.
See, that's the thing that I know it's subtle. And if somebody hasn't been in a locker room or they haven't been on a team or whatever, it's more those things, like the subtle thing, the subtle humor, more than this guy's such a, a clown or whatever, right?
Yeah, if you're a clown all year, it just runs out of steam. You're just with each other all the time, so you can't always be on. There's a few guys that could, because they had the ability to do it. Zuki was one. Shout out Keith Yandle is another one, but there's multiple. But there's a few guys that are able to be funny all year. I wasn't one, so you get a limited time of. You have to sometimes just keep your mouth shut, which is hard for me at times. But some guys are funny all year round. Some guys, it's better, like myself, to just kind of be quiet.
As hard as it may be to do. But so we're going to get to funny stories and all that, and who the funniest guys were and who were the serious guys. We'll get into that kind of stuff. But just circling back to Minnesota, I'm curious with your position, and I understand Bill Guerin, he's the GM, he's the guy that's calling the shots and everything. But when, like we're heading towards the trade deadline, and of course, Minnesota pulled off the biggest in-season trade in recent history in acquiring Quinn Hughes. Do you get looped into this? Do you share opinion about prospects and the guys that are in the development, or is it just strictly, hey, go down to Iowa, work with these guys and all that? Do you have some input into, hey, this team might be interested in these guys? What are your thoughts? What's your feedback?
I think what makes Billy really great, and I'm sure there's more out there. Billy's my first GM I've worked for. Is I think there is a level of like understanding that my job is to work with the prospects and see what I see, and when we go to meetings and we talk about them, it's all ears, and people listen to what each job, in whatever your job is in your lane, it is your job to be able to communicate it to the rest of the group. And Billy does a great job of listening. And I think that when people talk, it does it does stick. And when you have an opinion on something, I think guys are all ears. And I think that's what's great about the hockey world in general is it's always an open book, and people that there's so many great people in hockey that to be able to just have an open forum and chat, and it's fun. It's not this my way or the highway type mindset with anybody in the hockey world. It's, oh, that's interesting. Let's keep going down this path. Okay, that we ran that one too far. Let's bring it back. And I think that's where it's a lot of fun, and that's what I enjoy most about it.
Do you see yourself maybe one day, like, are you intrigued enough by the front office side, maybe one day to become more involved and maybe go down that path? Just curious.
Yeah, it's hard to see that with 10, 8, and 5.
Yeah.
I think what people don't understand is these general managers, assistant general managers, the pro scouts, the amateur scouts, these guys, there's a lot of hours in there, and there's a lot of time away, and it's a demanding job and requires a lot of focus and experience. Like you have to have years under your belt to be able to understand what it takes to build a team, to build a front office, to build a coaching staff, to build everything. So I think it's a little early to know if that's in my future. I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, and my family's my schedule is able to work right now, and I don't know how much more right now I have. So it's more so I enjoy what I'm doing. Who knows what right now, I just love being around the game and talking. I have no I think it's easy for everyone to say like, oh yeah, I'd love to be the head of something.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever your job is, yeah, I'd love to be the boss, but I'm not there yet. Nah, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm in a very, very good lane.
Yeah. So do you find that maybe there's more of an appreciation / understanding, now that you're not a player, like of what the front office does? And, listen, you had some tough negotiations with Glenn Sather with the Rangers. There's the classic, getting that deal done right before, arbitration, the arbitration hearing and what have you.
Yeah.
Is there, and I know I'm throwing that out as an example, but just in general, is there more appreciation or understanding seeing what Billy Guerin, for example, goes through, what it takes to actually do that job?
I think I thought I knew how much it was, but I was still short of how much there really is. And I think these guys, they do it's a demanding job, and there's a lot of moving pieces every single day. So to answer your question, I think overall, no, I didn't. I had no idea. And yes, definitely gained a respect for front offices and what it takes to put a team on the ice.
Yeah. I mentioned trade deadline before. You'd been a career-long Ranger, second round pick, had a good contract, had, some real good years, key part of teams that had, won the President's Trophy, had made it to 3 conference finals, made it to the 2014 Stanley Cup final. Rangers were a big part of Derek Stepan and vice versa. So how caught off guard were you? How much lead up? Did you have any inkling when you got the call from the Rangers, assuming it was Jeff Gorton that gave you that call and said, hey, we just moved you to the Coyotes? Did you know it was coming? Did you sense it? Did they give you any kind of backfilling there? Fill us in a little bit about that and kind of what your emotions were at the time.
All right. So from a standpoint of if I knew it was coming, there was inklings out there that it could I'd be lying to you to say that I didn't think that there was a high chance. It's funny. It's like, I know there's like, I always believe where there's smoke, there's fire. And there was a lot of chatter about me, but kind of at the same time, I was like a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of was stuck like, no way, this is my home. I'm going to be here forever, which, I was still young at the time, maybe a little naive. But Yeah, so I had an inkling, but I wasn't. I knew it was probability, but I was like, man, there's no way in my own head.
Yeah.
And then I got the call from Gort. Every time I got traded, it was my wife was super pregnant, so I pretty much told my wife I'm gonna stop getting pregnant
Yeah,
playing.
that's it.
So yeah, I got the call from Gortz, and as soon as I saw it, I kind of was like, oh, he's never called me before. It's just kind of a sickening feeling. Oh,
Yeah.
there's no way that this is a good call. This isn't like, hey, just wanted to check in to see how your summer was going. They were at the draft. Was
Yep.
it before the draft, or were they there yet? I know it was before the draft because they got a first rounder. So I think it was the day before the draft or 2 days before the draft.
Yep.
So I don't even know if they were there yet. But yeah, it was a bad feeling. And then I picked up the phone, and it like your heart kind of sinks. There's like a lot of emotions with it. You're kind of like heart ripped out of your chest type feeling. And then you hang up the phone, and John Chaika, the GM of Arizona, calls you, and it's like all this positivity, like this, like pumping you up, and how excited everyone is on that side. And you shift, and you're like, all right, here we go. This is great. This is what I want. I feel better about it. So it's this big wave of emotions, and then you hang up that phone call, and you're excited, and then you're like, oh man, I got to move from New York to Arizona, and we have. So it's overwhelming. At the time I got traded, it was in the middle of summer. I had plenty of time to get situated. But yeah, it's a roller coaster. It's what I tell people. It's a roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, trades and the deadline, it's really surfaced, these last couple of weeks and months, excuse me, with the Rangers and, now Artemi Panarin and being held out of the lineup and all that. At least your New York exit, as you pointed out, you didn't have to deal with that aspect of it. You had time to digest a little bit, because it's not just you, it's, it's your family, it's your wife, that's a big adjustment. Like, you kind of grew up, you became an adult with the New York Rangers, with that organization. But I'm curious, now looking back on it, would you say, you know what? Yeah, damn, it's a good thing. Yeah, I loved it there, but I get to play for different organizations, because it wasn't just the Coyotes. There's Ottawa, there's Carolina. Got to play for different organizations, different coaches, different fan bases, live in different areas. Like, do you appreciate that aspect, or would you, or am I overselling it? And you're like, no, Jim, I really wanted to be a career-long Ranger. And
no disrespect to the other organizations that I played for, but yeah, no, hell no, I wanted to stay in New York. What are we talking about? Yeah, I liked the group that we had was still there. Now, if I really were to sit back and take a look at it, the group that when I was there was pretty much gone a few years later after I left, and maybe I was one of the first dominoes. But yeah, I mean, me and my wife love New York. We came out for the alum game. Unfortunately, got canceled.
Unbelievable.
Flew everybody out there, and then we got out of there Saturday because we didn't want to be there for the winter storm. And we came out for the memories and moments, and our kids had a blast, and we had a blast, and yeah, we love New York. So
again, I guess I'll rephrase part of that question. What was that experience like then, to experience other organizations, other cities, other teams, and all that? And how did that, I'm assuming that it somehow, in some way, enhanced your life experience as well, and certainly your career experience.
For sure. And it was fun to be part of Arizona, which was in a rebuild that relied heavily on a new coach and some new veterans to kind of steer the ship in the right direction. And that there was moments that was difficult there, but we found our way through it. And then, we get into a situation where we have a chance to make the playoffs. Now, in the scheme of things, we wouldn't have made the playoffs if the season kept going with COVID, but we get a play-in game to see if we make it, and we make it. And for me, it was a win. So that was fun to be a part of. Is like, we took this group in year 1, got better in year 2, and year 3, we get a play-in game, and I do play in game like this because we probably would have missed the playoffs that year, but we got in, and I count it as a win. So we'll move on from there. No disrespect to our friends up in Canada and Ottawa. It was a really tough time to go up there. The COVID season was difficult only in Canada. My wife gave birth on December 30th. I got to spend 2 days with my youngest, and then I flew to Ottawa by myself and spent the next few months solo, and then hurt my shoulder. So that I don't really have. I wasn't there long enough. I didn't get to see the city for what it was because COVID kind of ruined it. And then Carolina, another shift in not a rebuild, a team that's pushing to win every year, and a really good group of guys and a good foundation and people there that are pushing real hard, and was fun to be a part of that in a different role and a different position. And the city of Raleigh was great for our family, and we got some really good friends down there that we bonded with really well. Jordan Staal and his family and our kids are still to this day good friends. So it was a good, yes, to answer your question, the experience was a lot of fun to go through it.
To experience different things. It's part of, right, being a professional athlete. It goes by so fast, and you're so laser focused on what you're doing, but the things that come with being a professional athlete, there's a ton of pressure, for sure, but the ability to, see the world, to see other parts of just the country, Canada, United States, to live in other areas, these are things that, not everybody gets that opportunity to do, and so in a way, I've talked to many athletes about it, and they feel like in a way you're kind of blessed, no, I don't want to get traded, but boy, that was an experience I wouldn't have had,
Yeah.
Now granted,
take it a step further. During the lockout, I got to go play in Finland, spend a month over there.
True.
And, this is pre-kids, so it was doable. Now with kids, I don't know if it's doable in the realm that I see. So yes, to answer your question, super blessed to be a athlete that gets to experience so much in my 13 years, and I'm grateful that I got to be a part of some real good organizations. And again, I've said this now a few times, there's just great people in hockey. They're just across the board great people.
Yeah. So, and you're right. Absolutely. You're a great example of that. I reach out to you years later, and, it wasn't, lose my number. It's like, well, let's try and set up a time to chat or whatever. So
you literally text me Christmas Eve. You're like, hey, can we do an interview tomorrow?
I'm like, now see the exaggeration that goes on here. That is not the case.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
My mind's a little blurry. I've been hitting the head a lot.
Yes, you were. We could even get into that. Maybe we'll conference in Brandon Prust about that. What do you think?
Yeah. Callie, you should. The last time I saw those two guys together, they were breaking the hit down and saying how clean it was and how I dove. It should have been suspended for embellishment.
So the funny thing there is, I saw an interview. I think it was with Johnny Laz, who I know and you've been on with him as well. But he had Callie on, and Callie's going on and on and on about how, oh my gosh, he barely touched him, crazy step, he just dropped, to the ice, right? He got into the whole embellishment thing, but he's laughing. He says, yeah, every time we see Step, we get on him about it.
Oh yeah, Prusty too. It's great. And Prusty, I love him. So it's all fair game. I got no issues with it. At the time I was pretty pissed at him, but we're in a good place, and I get it. It's hockey, game's fast. I just wish he would have grabbed somebody else. Why do you have to hit me?
Oh,
so yeah. Pick anyone but me. I would have been fine with it.
Right. So, now, like years later, they ask, Derek Stepan, how was your, Stanley Cup final experience? Well, I was eating dinner out of a straw, and, and one of my best friends just, kind of, he's the one that put me in that situation. Yeah, well, no mixed emotions at all, I'm sure.
To give Prusty the credit, and Ranger fans, I know you guys love him. You guys, Ranger fans always voted him and Callie to fan favorites. I never even got on the list. I was like fifth every time. To give him credit, the next year in training camp, broke my leg in the skate test, and I got off the ice, and one of the first texts was Prusty checking in. So that says everything you need to know about Prusty.
Yeah, and right. Listen, there's we could go frame by frame like the Zapruder film about what happened here on this hit, but like, listen, you had reason to be pissed, and it really crossed friendships because obviously you guys are not only former teammates but you're friends and continue to be even past that.
Yeah.
But you remember AV, he's coaching against one of his closest friends, and they're throwing barbs at each other after the game, about what actually happened. And AV's pissed, and then he's pissed. Everybody's pissed, but it crossed those lines. It just shows you the intensity, of the moment. You guys were playing for something so big, but yet it went beyond that realm. There was a personal side to it.
Yeah, but I was the second domino. I think Carey Price is the first domino over the wall, and I think they were upset with that one. And then this is domino two. Everything just kept building, and that's what playoff hockey is all about. I think that's why the fans love it. Is it keeps everybody on their toes. How about that? Let's just end with that and move on.
Oh no, it keeps them on their toes. But what about, so those are the fans? What about as a player? As that intensity ratchets up, game 1 to game 7, there's a hell of a lot of difference, right? It's just building up.
There's nothing. I think you obviously hear about matchups and stuff like that, but when you match up against somebody for, let's say you go 7 games, and that is the guy that you face off against every single night, there is something about the competitiveness that is addicting, and it's something that if you haven't experienced going seven times in a row against somebody every other day, find a friend and go in a boxing ring with them every other day for 7 straight, and you'll know what that feeling's like, and it's really fun.
I remember how I loved, especially those long series. You guys specialized over those years in making sure that every series went 6 or 7 games. And of course, you were winning so many game 7s every year, every season, every playoff. But like, you guys weren't sweeping other teams. Let's take them out in 5 games. They were going 7 games over and over again. And I remember the intensity. And of course, these are multiple playoff series that you had against the Capitals. But that rivalry between Hank and Ovi was just, it was awesome. Especially when, Ovi, I own him, and, and then he scores. Remember that one game 7, he scores, the first goal, and we've got them, and Henrik just wouldn't budge. Henrik didn't really get into the war of words, but you knew that, man, that focus, like you talk about addictive, being addictive to the competition. I think of those two. Obviously, it goes beyond that, but I think of those two for sure.
Yeah, I think those two are on another planet when it comes to competition. But regardless, I just think it's you hear players talk about it all the time. The regular season is what it is, and the best time of the year is when you get in the playoffs. That's why everyone wants to play, and it's because of that exact thing that you just talked about. Is you go against some of the best players in the world, and you match up against them every single night, and it's. I don't want to use the word war because that's not what it is. It is a complete grind in a chess match, and maybe they get you the first night, second night you might get them. Now can you break them on their serve? So it's this back and forth. It's a lot of fun.
Because I mentioned Ovi, I mentioned the Capitals and all that. I'd be pretty remiss if I didn't bring up Game 7 and the overtime winner, of course, against the Caps. You winning the face-off, going to the net. Like, to me, it was textbook, right? That's what you do. You win the face-off, comes back to the point, you go to the net, you're in position, and there it is. The rebound just kicks right back out to you. Walk me through that. And like just the other day, I know I'm going out a little tangent here, but Matthew Robertson, I know it's a regular season game and all that, but he scores a game-winning goal for the Rangers. Awesome move. He's more of a defensive defenseman, but he scores in overtime. And he said, as I was cutting to the net, I remember everything. I came up, I saw the blue line. This is what I saw in front of me. And as I started to cut to the net, I blacked out. I can't tell you what the hell happened. And to the, somebody who doesn't play professional hockey, you say, well, no, come on, really? Maybe afterwards you black out. No, he's like, no, I blacked out. I have no idea. I just know the puck was in the net, and all of a sudden everybody's jumping on top of me. So correlate that to Derek Stepan Game 7 scoring that winner there, and walk me through it, because I'm sure somewhere in there might have been a blackout moment for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard because I think the cliche thing is that you blacked out, right? You don't remember. I think if a Game 7 playoff goal, regardless if it was an overtime or regular season or regulation goal, like I think it's really hard to explain how hyper focused you are going into a Game 7.
Yeah.
And then it ends in a tie, and you sit in the locker room, and how your focus continues to sharpen. Every overtime, you sharpen it before you get out there. And then as the overtime wears down, you get tired, your focus drifts. And then you resharpen it and you resharpen it. So I remember a lot of it. I think the big thing is we talked a lot about face-offs. We were getting kind of our butts kicked actually at the time, and I don't know if I necessarily won the face-off or if my wingers came in and helped me. And I had mentioned to Jesper Fast all series long and Kreitz, like, hey, their centers tying me up, so if you guys can get in here and if I can hold them long enough, we should be able to pop pucks back. Now there was no set play, there was none of that, but that was just repetition of me just mentioning it to those guys, and Quickie gets in there and pops it back. And they did a great job. I don't know if you remember this, but they did a great job blocking shots in that series. We were down 3-1, and we felt like we had more opportunities to get pucks on Holtby, and they were doing a great job of blocking shots. So, I think we had a discussion being like, hey, we gotta get more layers in the net, or we gotta make an extra pass here because they're doing a great job of blocking shots. And in Game 5, Quickie knocks down a puck, gets it over to me, and I was thinking shot the whole time, and I decided to slide it over to Ryan McDonough because I know that they got a bunch of guys playing goalie. Now, is that me seeing all that in that moment? No. So my point is I don't remember seeing all of it, or the puck coming to me, but I remember a lot of it, and I remember Quickie getting in there, rolling out to a spot that it's going to have to be lucky to land on my stick. And I remember being there, and when the puck landed on my stick, I can remember what the puck, where it was on my blade before I shot it. Now I hit the middle of the net, and it wasn't a great shot, but I remember it. And it's hard to explain. I didn't black out, but I do remember a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool to hear everything that, as you said, that led up to it. It was a series worth of, well, this is what we discussed.
Correct.
This is what we worked on. And this is how it happened. I mean, I love, the backstory of all that.
Yeah. And when people ask me that it's not as simple as just like overtime winner, face-off win. No, it's layers. And the blackout part for me is after it went in.
Yeah.
And because it's funny, it's like your emotions shift. You're in this high intensity moment, and then you shift to like that's where I kind of blacked out, is like, wait, what just happened? And you're trying to gather everything. You're trying to figure out what happened. And obviously huge moment that I'm grateful I got to do it in front of the Ranger fans.
There were so many of those moments, obviously that year, but the previous, season as well, the run to the cup final. And, we back in 2012, Brad Richards scores in the final second, that late power play goal, Stalsey scores, the winner, John Mitchell won that face off. Like I rewind these things in my head all the time. I'm like, yeah, that was John Mitchell. People forget that John Mitchell, was the guy that won that draw there, and everyone remembers it was Staal.
Because he was on my line because I couldn't win a face-off. So that's why he was there. He was helping me out.
Well, he got it for sure. And was Artie on the ice? Yeah, right. Anisimov was on the ice, if I remember. Was he? I think he was. But
look. I want to say I was out there. Yeah, Artie was out there too. It might have been me, Artie, and John Mitchell, maybe. I want to say I was out there. It was a slapper goal from Stalsey?
Yeah, in overtime. It was a power play goal. Look at you trying to take
Mark
credit.
Never was on a power play. Don't
no.
Don't tell the Ranger fans that, because then Mark will get all excited that he was on a power play. We don't need to I don't need to get a text from Mark Staal saying I was on a power play.
Wasn't it a power play goal? Oh, or was it just that? No, yes, you started overtime on the power play. Because it carried over. But what, did you have a 2-man advantage? Now I'm getting hazy on the details. I know Richard scored to tie it in the final seconds, and then you guys won it like right after, early in overtime. But I'm pretty sure you were on the power play. And I know you don't like to give Staal any credit, so I understand that and respect that.
He played a lot. He played a lot of power play, but I like to kind of every once in a while with him.
Every once
in a while. He wins every time, but at least poke the bear once in a while.
Gotta poke him. But I know it's hard to pick out a favorite, outside of the one that you scored.
Don't
was
do
there
it.
One that,
Don't.
No, I won't say favorite, but is there one that as you replay these things in your head where you go, damn, that Kreider goal, that the one where you're getting shut out 1-0, the season's about to end. Of course, that was the one where McDonough ended up scoring in overtime.
Yeah.
Boy, that one, I always remember that one, or the Mac one, maybe because it was your pass that set it up. I don't know. I was just wondering, outside of yours, if there's one that you always remember. It doesn't have to be a favorite, but maybe the one that kind of crops up in your head more than the others. Oh boy, guys are waiting for your answer here.
There's so many good ones. So, one that I'm going to go off the rails a little bit because everyone can give you the easy answers, but the one that I remember that I think Ranger fans will like is we were in Carolina and we clinched a playoff spot when Ryan Callahan scored.
Yeah, that was
cool.
I
know Callie's going to text me and be like, yeah, I'm your favorite, but I remember that goal. Me, him, and Hags were on a line together in Carolina. And Carolina, the first period, just poured it on us. So they did that a lot when my career there in New York. You could come out and the Hurricanes would have 20 shots in the first, no goals. Hank shut the door, and then we'd come out and we'll find a way to win. But that was during the lockout season when Callie was able to find the net to clinch a playoff spot for it. That's one that most people probably won't remember. Callie scored a goal too. Now I'm just all on the Callahan train. Callie scored a goal in Buffalo shorthanded. I think his grandma was there. That was a cool one. Stalsey had a few good ones. Stalsey had a couple random 2-on-1 goals too. Trying to think. Now you got me in a weird spot. Mike Rupp scored a big one. There you go. In Toronto, Zuki scored almost every time we win the shootout, so he's still doing it.
Every time, yeah,
and
still doing it, right?
Yeah, still doing
it. Because you're mentioning Callie, and we were talking about trades before, and how trades, especially in-season trades or the lead up to trades, because there was a big lead up to the Callie deal.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay? Is he going to, sign an extension? How's that going to play out? Here's a guy, good friend of yours, captain of the team, well-respected, loved by the Ranger faithful. So when that trade goes down, because there are two parts to there are two massive parts to this, obviously. When that trade goes down, ahead of that deadline, you're such a good team. You're a serious contender. You guys in the second half of that 2013-14 season were, among, if not the best team in the league, if you look at the numbers, and you guys were rolling. I know it's a big buildup, but he gets traded. So you have that aspect of it. And then at the same time, you're hearing, oh yeah, we're getting this guy. Yeah, kind of familiar with him, Martin St. Louis. And now he's coming to us. What was the locker room like then? Like, I know I was there and all that, but I'm not there. I'm not you. I'm not the players there. What was that like? And that quick transition that you guys had to make there, with Callie leaving and Marty coming.
So I tell Callie this all the time. I was like, yes, thank you. Get him out here. But no,
Yeah.
it was I don't even really remember my train of thought. I remember being like kind of shocked, trying to figure it out. You're losing a real good friend, and you're bringing in Marty, which we had known a lot. Marty's history was,
Of course,
he knew how to do it, and it seemed like it just kind of seemed off. Like everything just seemed off with the whole thing. Now, if I were to back up and sit in the lens that I sit in now, and on the other side of it, it's in order to get something, you have to give up something, right? And
right.
I'm sure Tampa felt the same way. Like, all right, if we're giving up this, we want that. And I'm sure it was kind of an awkward conversation to start with the two GMs, but yeah, it was a weird one, but it just goes to show you that it's business, and anything can happen, and that's what's great.
And not only it's business, anything can happen, but as a player, you have no control. Like, you're in that room, team's still playing well. You're still a Stanley Cup contender. You still have a job to do,
Right.
just because your captain and your buddy, is shifted out. You gotta muscle up and go back out there and continue doing what you're doing.
Yep. You get about an hour to deal with it, and you got to move on, because if you wait too long and it affects your play, it's going to cost you. So yeah, it was quick shift, and I had, now that I've talked Callie up enough, and we missed him, and Ranger fans, we loved him too. I had a great experience with Marty. I learned a ton. He was a guy that was on my line. He taught me so much as a guy that played in the top six, and now look at him go as a coach. Like, he's special, that's for sure. And it was fun to be a part of.
And he I mean, he was a superstar player, and he, Stanley Cup winner, scoring champion, all that.
Stop tiptoeing around Callie. Like, the trade was, they were trading they were very different players, and the Rangers felt that we needed a Marty, and we had enough Callies, and unfortunately, like I said, it was a swap for Marty and his ability to do something that I don't think Callie could do. So, to be fair to Callie, he's chasing a Hall of Famer, so it's okay to say it now. We can say it. We've been tiptoeing around it. We can say it. It was a very good swap for us at the time. We needed a Marty, and Callie was the one that ultimately ended up on the chopping block.
Wow. That is the heartless, ruthless side of Step.
Yeah.
I didn't know this side.
I gave him enough credit, and I don't think he would disagree. I hope he wouldn't disagree.
No, and I think for Callie, I don't want to speak for him, but just interviewing him over the years and hearing interviews that he did, I don't think it was that. I mean, for sure, he didn't want to get traded, but I think it was more the contract situation that
Yeah.
sticks in his craw, because that's really the reason why he got traded, along with the fact that, like you said, team needed a guy like Marty. You needed a Marty. So
And
that was the other aspect.
contracts are always brutal to start, and he had a long road before the final contract was going to get offered to him. So just the start, but you don't ever want to go into a summer with a guy that's going to be a free agent in July. So ultimately, if there's anything that Cali was deservingly so going to get paid in some way, shape, or form, and the Rangers felt that they were going to go a different direction.
Right. But, Marty, I was kind of doing the buildup, about, he's Marty St. Louis, he, and I know there, obviously it really came together, the whole group as a family, really, when his mom passed away. And it was very, very powerful for all of us. I wasn't a player, I was working for the team, but you were still affected by just, just the outpouring of kind of a loving family feel from the group, just kind of taking this guy in who'd been, a brother for, what at that point, 2 months or whatever it had been. I just remember how that stood out, and what it said about the group, what it said about Marty, that he kind of opened up, but that everybody opened up and embraced him as well during that time. And that was certainly, there's no way to, emphasize more what an important seminal moment was for that group in that playoff run. Because you could have been out of the playoffs there in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying you wouldn't have rallied, but wasn't looking great at that point. And yet how you guys came together and all that, to me, it seemed like a seminal moment. But again, I'm not in the locker room, I wasn't a player, but you walk me through that and what that meant to the group, and certainly to Marty.
So when you're in a playoff series, and even a regular season, and the times get tough, the snowball can build on you and get bigger and bigger, and it gets harder and harder to get out of it. And I think when everything went down with Marty's mom, I think what happened was, for us, is we all took a step back and said, all right, hey, we're playing a game, and we're all humans. And one of our brothers, who is a human, just lost a big piece of his life. Yeah. We all understand that it's way bigger than us being down 3-1 and not playing great hockey. And we shifted, and we got on board with getting behind Marty. And then what happened was, as we went out and played the game of hockey, and we found our game again. And I think the realistic part of it is we are just playing a game. And I think it's hard to understand that sometimes for everybody, is we are just playing a game, and there is a human aspect to it. And it was devastating for Marty, and our group felt it. And I was when he scored that goal in game 5, at home, when he scored the goal, I think it was game 5.
Mother's Day,
5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he scored that goal, me and Hags were on his line, and it was one of the heaviest huddles I've ever been in. Like, it was awesome. It was just pure emotion in that group. That's my message, we're humans. They're all humans. They're all playing, and they're all humans. And that in that moment, in that playoff series, that's what our group opened our eyes up to, is that Marty's going through a tough time because he lost a big chunk.
Yeah. And you mentioned, I was going to ask you about, but you nailed it by calling it one of the heaviest huddles, and hugs and huddles ever. The emotion of that.
Me and Hags are in player development here together in Minnesota, and we talked about that one time. It's like that goal, and we've been in a lot of huddles, but nothing like that one. That one was different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, it's just heavy remembering, being around at that time and remembering it, and crazy. And then, all of a sudden, and then you go through your thing, in in the Eastern Conference Final. I know
Yep.
we're not talking about the passing, but you get your jaw broken, your buddy did it, and we kind of touch on that a little bit, but then all of a sudden you
But
find
just to
yourself
interrupt, that
Yeah.
doesn't hold anything even remotely close to what Marty went through. I broke
No,
a
no.
jaws heal all day long, and Prusty, me and Prusty are in a good place. So that's standard playoff BS. So we got through that one just fine.
Right. And I wasn't comparing them. It was more just doing the linear,
I just was clearing the air because you know how you reporters get and fans on Twitter get.
Oh, you reporters.
They can
you
get
reporters.
Oh, you reporters. You can't help yourselves.
You reporters. Like the guy that made you and Mac who you are with the Step McD show. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys were roommates and, made you. I sacrificed. I sacrificed to make sure that you got the airtime and that you guys stood out for who you were and everything. This is what I get. You reporters. That's what I get.
All right, sorry. All right, you're a podcaster now.
Oh, no, I'm a reporter too, but yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not you reporters. Come on.
Okay, all right. We'll separate you. You're just a reporter, and there are reporters.
Yeah. But I mean, one of the great things especially at that time, was that, I was a reporter, but also working for the team. Like, if you remember at that time, it was only a couple teams that had their own in-house, reporter, that traveled with the team and was a beat guy, but, wasn't, I wasn't looking, and I would have been fired. I wasn't looking for trouble or whatever. And I think it allowed, and I'm not saying that you're an uptight guy, so maybe you're not the right example, but I think for some guys it allowed them there was a more of a trust factor. All right, this guy, he's not out to get us, where sometimes, especially in New York, there's that impression. Oh, they're out to get if things go bad, or who knows what he's going to write about us or she's going to write about us. So I think I was fortunate in a way during that time with a really good group, as you and I have talked about. That was a really good group of guys, right? Like a special group of guys. Can you put your finger on kind of what made that group so special? Because it really was, like, I don't want to overemphasize it, but it really was a really good group of dudes.
I think the balance of age groups. I think the quote unquote core guys when I first got there was Dubinsky's, Callahan's, Girardi, Stahl's. These guys all played in Hartford and came up together through the farm system, and that, I think, those four guys were the bridge between the older guys and guys like me, and we had a lot of fun. I think we bought into who we were as a group. Torts made it entertaining too for a good chunk of years there, but we bought into that, and we won. We won games, and when you win, life is a lot easier. It's hard work and a lot easier to lose, but when you win and you can have fun and you can come to the rink and understand who you are as a group, and you can do it year to year and feel comfortable playing in 7-game series and not feel like, oh boy, it's slipping out of our hands. Like, well, this is what we do. We know how to get through it. We'll figure it out. So, yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to do what we shot for every single year, is win your last game. But we had a good run, and we had some good teams. We had a great group of guys. Yeah,
and right, and that's part of what I was like driving at. It was a good group to be around. And it's interesting how you mentioned Torts there. That foundation, that was set, it carried over, even though I know some players came and went. Not everybody was there for the full run or as long as you were, but that foundation stayed even when AV came in. And the big talk was, well, it's going to be a different style of play and all that. But at the core, that was still I could still feel torts in that group, even as you had success under Alain Vigneault. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think everyone thought, oh, AV is going to come in with a different system. And I think we kind of floated through the first year of AVC coaching
That
season.
first half of the season for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of were just like right there, kind of in the playoffs, but not really. And I think finally there was like a meeting in an AV, and AV had been pushing it for a while, but as a group, we finally like it sunk in. Like, wait, AV wants us to play the same way we've been playing forever. He's gonna be a fresh voice and something different than what we've been used to hearing. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of similarities in all coaches, and how this is a theory that's maybe a hot take, but I think there's really one real formula to play and how the game needs to be played, and how you do it is every different ways, but overall the formula is good goaltending, good defense, and creative offense. How you do that, everyone does it differently, but ultimately you end at the same spot.
And you kind of had a pretty good goalie in that run too. Not so bad. I know you don't want to prop him up.
I mean, we got to talk about him for the next hour. No, he was incredible. He was, I mean, he we touched on him about Ovi and his competitive nature, and talk about a guy that looks at his competition or looks at his next hurdle and takes it full tilt. Henrik Lundqvist is that guy, and he was great for us. I mean, he was, and the nights that we weren't good, he was great, and we would find ways to win. And the nights that we were great, he was great. Like he was great all the time. And I could probably keep it on one hand when I thought that he was going through struggle in my 7 years, which is crazy.
Yeah, to have that level of consistency, his intensity, anybody I talked to from that group, anybody that played with him, it's almost always the first thing that they go to. Yep. That's the go-to. Yeah, of course, his work ethic and his skill set and how great he was in games, but it was that intensity. I mean, that had to rub off on the entire group, no?
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to the groups of guys that I played with. I played with a couple Hall of Famers, but I mean, he was our superstar. We did it as a committee up front of him, whether it be defending or scoring goals. We did it always as a committee, and he was a superstar. And we built a big chunk, and a big reason why we were successful in those 7 years is because of Henrik.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny. Marty Biron, he told me, obviously Marty's Marty. He's got his way, like, the game starts in a couple of minutes. Okay, I'll stop talking for a minute or two. He can't help himself. And I can't help myself doing bad Marty imitations whenever like I quote him or whatever.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. A lot of practice. He said that like he had to learn even in preseason. Oh yeah, you don't talk to Henrik, he's playing today. Marty be like, but it's a preseason and and whatever. He said even if it was just not, I'm making it sound like goofy, but even if he felt like he had something to share, with Henrik that was relevant, he said he learns quickly, and it was just Henrik with the headphones on, looking up at him. He's like, okay, and that was it. But what I love, and this is what I love about the sport and why I love about hockey and everything, is that's how it started. And Marty said it wasn't easy. He said it wasn't easy to kind of be welcomed in by Henrik, because that intensity was real, and the competition, even with the backup goalie, was real. But he said once they broke through and they built that trust together, they became inseparable. They were always on the flights together, sitting together, watching Friday Night Lights or whatever, sharing the headphones, but it became a real, not only partnership, but friendship, which I think speaks to, boy, this is what hockey is. And even the most intense guy and, somebody who's a 180 personality wise, they end up like that. And I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but I just think it's really, really cool and speaks to not only to them, but the overall group,
Yeah. Henrik, especially early on with Marty, and Henrik didn't really have competition of, hey, he's going to get hot and take my net. It was more so Henrik was like, I want to play 65 games this year.
Right.
Hank's like, I want to play 74 games this year. So I'm going to go in the net and I'm going to make every save. And so, but yeah, Marty was good for Hank. And yeah, I don't have much more on Hank. I think New Yorkers, everyone knows everything there is you need to know about that guy. He is the king for a reason.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned Tor, we talked about Torts before, and I promise I'll let you go in a little bit. I feel like I've taken up your whole afternoon here, but this is cathartic. Not cathartic isn't the word for me. It's a lot of fun just to hang out and reminisce and, just go back and forth. And I mean, not to build you up too much, but how much respect I always had for you. And, we always had such a good rapport. I always enjoyed, our conversations and stuff. So I was really looking forward to this. And I know our fans and listeners are really going to appreciate this as well. So I'm buttering you up to just keep you a few questions longer here, but give me a good Tort story. Everybody has Tort stories. All right. I'm on the clock. Give me a good Tort/step story, right? There's got to be one or two or 10 or 12 or 15.
There's lots. I mean, oh man, that's a tough one. Okay. So to be fair, I was a younger guy that kind of listened to what Torch had to say, and I kind of figured if he said to do it, go do it. I think, one of the, I'm trying to think, you kind of put me on the spot. I wasn't really prepared for Torch stories. I think, man, give me a second. Let's circle back to that one. I'll get hit me with another question. Let me think of a Torch story. And if I get one, I'll come up with it. Cause I want to give you a good one. There are some that are, I don't know how old your viewers are. I probably can't repeat.
So it is the internet. So there's no FCC.
Yeah.
There have been F-bombs dropped on this show many times before. So, that's up to you. That's your comfort level with a story or a direct commentary or whatever, direct quote.
Yeah. Torch was just, he would just, him and Sully, they knew that I understood a lot, and they knew that if my game was not where it should be, they found ways to prod me and poke me and get me going. And Torch like to kick it, like you kind of, if you're sitting on the bench, you kind of have a little bit of your backside hanging off the bench, and he liked to kick me, and there's no padding right there. He liked to kick me right there, like, there was some profanity. It felt like it was appropriate. Basically, let's get going, Derek. Please and thank you. And those were the big moments for me with Torts. And I think after my rookie season, we came into camp, and I came in heavy. That was the facts of it, and I was a little bit bigger than I was the year before. And Torts saw the weight. Like, he got the sheet and he saw the weight, and he came into the locker room and he was like, so what's your weight? And I knew he knew my weight. And then he just walked out, and I was like, uh-oh. And the next day I came into his office and he introduced me to Fat Camp, and I was on the bike for the rest of training camp until I was at the right fighting weight. So he knew how to push my buttons. He knew that I understood if there really wasn't a choice for me, because overall I wasn't as talented or skilled as some of the other young guys, but I had a brain like him. So he knew that there was really one path for me and how I needed to play. And so he was great at just, maybe I wasn't playing great, and just booting me to get me going. And it hurt, but it got me going.
That's that's a good one. And I remember, again, I know on the periphery, I never heard the story necessarily put that way, but I remember that camp, and I remember, what Torts, he shared a little bit of that with the media.
Yep.
I will
So it's
say,
like fat camp. Here you go. You get to go in. You get to go in and start losing some weight.
I will say about Torts, and he is who he is, and talk about intensity. We were talking about Henrik's intensity, his intensity. He was so good, like on a non-game day from a reporters. Like you threw me into that group of, you reporters. He was great on those days. He would explain things. He might be sharp. There were sharp elbows. He was Torts, but like he would explain things more. And AV came in, and I said this all the time. I even told AV this once. I forgot where we were on the road. Might have been Denver. And anyway, we were both in the gym at the hotel at the same time, and we would chat. We were often cross paths there. And I remember telling him, and he actually laughed. I said, uh, the media, they love you. You come in, it's a breath of fresh air. It's not Torts and everything. I said, you make the media feel so good and tell them nothing at the same time. Like, because he was so polite, he'd remember your name, not just me, but whoever it was at the time, Andrew, Larry, Zip, whatever. And he'd remember your name. He'd look directly at you and he'd talk, he'd fill up your notebook, and then you'd look at it, you go, holy shit, he told me nothing. Like, I got nothing out of this,
thing.
Not a thing. So it made you feel good, but you got nothing. So I told him that one day, and he was just laughing. He's like, you know how he was.
Yeah. He was a tactician when it came to you reporters.
Oh yes, us reporter. He played them well. Whereas Torts, he didn't care. Torts told me once. This is a great story. I've told
you
this
should get Torts on the show.
That's actually, he would be good, but he doesn't like doing these things, as you can imagine. So,
no way.
But he did tell me once that he one game he blew up, and he aired out the media and everything. Of course, it's on TV, it's on MSG Network. And he gets in the car, he drives home. By the time he drives home, he's cooled down at least a little bit or whatever. He says he pulls into his driveway, and he's like, uh-oh, because the front door is open. And there's his wife. She's just waiting for him. And you know how it is, Step. You never want to come home, and you want your wife to be there and greet you and everything. But you don't want this, especially because you didn't do something good. And she's like, he said before he even made it in the house, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? He's like, oh, So, but I love the fact that there was that self-awareness. Like, he knew who he was. This is who I am. And, and he would share a story like that. Not often, but, sometimes give that glimmer of, I get it. My wife, she put me in my place.
Yeah. He's a good man. I'm a big Torts fan. Still stay in touch with him.
Yeah.
Wish him the best of luck in Milan. I hope they come home with that thing.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I was going to bring this to, is just the Olympics. Obviously, you've worn the U.S. sweater. You went to the Olympics with the Team USA. Of course, you had the Great World Junior Championship as well, wearing the sweater. You kind of answered it already, but how fired up are you for this opportunity and for the Olympics, and to see the NHL players once again get this opportunity?
Yeah. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great hockey. I'm obviously very biased on who I want to win, but I think it's going to be great hockey. I think it's there's some really good players going for, I'm like a super fan. Like, I'm super excited. I'm excited for the U.S. group. I like the way that they're shaping out and how they're gonna compete over there. And I'm excited. I wish them all the best of luck, and I hope they come home with gold medals around their neck.
What can, I know what your experience was you know, I remember when you went over and I believe it was one game that you got into,
Yeah, I played
if I'm
one
not
game.
mistaken. I don't want, yeah,
One
I don't want to
game.
get it wrong. So tell me
Yeah,
just about the whole experience, both playing, of course, but also just, I don't know,
yeah.
not many people walk around and say, huh, I'm a US Olympian, you know, and you are.
Yeah, it was super fun. I was youngish, I should say. I wasn't young, but I was youngish, and to be a part of that team, great group of guys. I was grateful, and got to play in a game and wear the sweater, and it was a really special moment in my career. And when I wasn't in the lineup, I got to experience the Olympics day to day, and I got nothing but great stories and great things that came along with it. But they're great stories that are like just being a fan, and that's cool to me. So it was super fun.
Yeah, I can imagine just being there, soaking it all in. I've never been to an Olympics, but just you know, to be an athlete there. So you know, you're playing for, you're representing your country, but you're like, oh, but I can go do this, and I can go see these great athletes do sports that, you know, maybe I wouldn't have the time to pay attention to. You know, if the season was
Yeah.
just rolling along. I just think the whole experience just sounds so cool. I'm happy for you that you got that experience, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. And obviously we came home with one of the dogs too. So Jake is,
Yeah.
you know, he's 13, 14 right now. When was the Sochi Olympics? 2014. So he's 12,
14.
13 years
Yeah.
old. He's 13 years
Yeah.
old right now. We got him. He was obviously 6 months or something. So yeah, what a great story for our family.
Yeah, that's neat. Okay, we'll wrap it up here. There's so many other things I could get to, but real quick, when I had
I
Dom
guess
Moore, Dom Moore was
I
on the
guess I'll
show.
have to come up back on the show then. I'll do another session with you if you got more.
Oh, you wouldn't do that. It's
But
on. It's on video right now.
yep, that's fine. I'll do another one with you. You load up some more questions. Maybe get some of your listeners to ask some. Come on, use your head here.
Ooh, I am. I'm selfish, but you knew that.
Step on behind the podcast.
Oh, yeah. See, remember you used to go
Nobby.
around to the interviews and all that. So Dom Moore said Step was one of the most funny guys on that team. He said he was definitely the most self-deprecating guy when it came to humor. But then he said, look, see, you're laughing already. So that doesn't matter who Dom said. Who would you say were the funniest guys on that team? Who were the guys that could get you going no matter what? Was there one? It could be five guys or whatever. Who were the guys that really could get you going?
Mark got me too many times. He got me laughing too hard. Mark Staal, Brian Boyle, Keith Yandle, Zook. Those are the guys. Those are the guys that got really. I'm probably missing guys, and I'm gonna get in trouble for it. But those guys
I get it.
Guys were good. And we had a group of guys that, you know, it's like any friendship. You got a group of guys that get together and you can laugh about everything. But those guys are usually the ones that had the quick lines and the quick whips.
Yeah. As did you. You were not shy about it.
No,
As
I wasn't. I
I
as
recall,
quick as some other. Or me.
I recall, no, you weren't mean, but I do recall being victimized in ways by you is there. And I'm a pretty sensitive guy too. So it was tough. I rose above
I'm coming
it.
back on your show. You don't need to be sensitive.
All right. Now I don't have to get sensitive. I do appreciate your time today. This has been a lot of fun. And I appreciate you spending the time. I know the fans do too. I feel like I'm thanking you for them as well, because I know they're going to love this. It's, you know, it's very much appreciated. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. And we can line up another one too. So I'm okay with doing it. I got a lot of downtime when I'm on the road. You can take advantage of me there.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds good. Enjoy the Olympics and best of luck with the Wild the rest of the season as well.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.